Here we are. We are live. It is Friday, and wow, April is going by quickly. It's already the 21st. One more one more week left in the month, I guess, or one more Friday. How's everybody
We're
doing today?
good. Just wondering where the time is going.
I know we say that all the time, right? It's like, what?
Literally every
Where
Friday.
did clearly we're not keeping track
No.
of where everything's going. It just keeps flying by, but we are well into spring. But I don't know about you, but it already feels like summer here. I swear it in North Carolina we tend to skip seasons. We have summer and winter. That seems to be all we tend to have here. The South is just strange. Same for you, right, Alexa?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yesterday was like 84 degrees. It was lovely, but I was like not ready for summer quite yet.
Yeah, I want to keep the 70s just a little bit longer
Yeah.
so we could
Yeah.
be nice and everything. So, but welcome everyone. We are glad to be here. We've got a couple of our product folks with us. We're going to talk about Android. We're very excited to do that. So, hey, anyone do anything fun this weekend?
I think I'll be doing a little bit of relaxation. Last week I was actually out on PTO, getting about a week-long vacation in Dubai with the larger family. So I think we had gathered from like about four different countries. It's the first time my wife's family's been together since 2008. So it's really
Wow.
exciting. So as you ladies were talking about the spring and summer, got to experience summer warmth, the beach, and now, trying to relax a little bit and get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, you said y'all went to Dubai and that was your first trip there, Sergey?
First time there, yeah. So it took about 24 hours to get there
Wow.
uh, over Easter holidays. So we landed on Sunday, Easter. I got to the resort, slept for like 3, 4 hours, and then met the whole family.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, that's a long haul. That is a long haul.
Yeah,
So,
It was, but
my weekend hasn't been as fun as Sergi, but I did manage to catch movies, Super Mario and Dungeon and Dragon, and oh my goodness, it's like $100 just going to the movies these days with popcorn and everything for a family of four. So it's ridiculous.
oh wow. So we've got differing things here in the chat. We've got Brandon says it was a summer weekend for them and very warm. And Rob says he grilled some burgers on a 78-degree Saturday and then hid indoors on Sunday because it was below freezing that night. Boy, that is that's quite a difference. I'm telling you. We've had some mornings where it'll be, in the 40s and then it warms up into the 70s during the day and it just cannot make up its mind whether I'm supposed to have the heat or the AC on and it is it is crazy. So Brandon wants to know, Joranna, is there no membership program in the States for the theaters?
Oh yeah, I was typing in the chat, but Brandon, that is, but it's not worth it if you don't go to the movies all the time, right? So there's very specific movies that I want to watch. I don't do that, all every weekend. If not, then it's totally worth it to get a membership program. So you're right on that.
Yeah, I've seen a few come up with those recently, but I don't quite go frequently enough to do that. But I have friends who do. I mean, they go all the time. I have a friend who used to work for one of the major movie theater chains, and she could share her family membership. So she shared it with one of my other friends, and that friend would, just go to it. You go more frequently when you can go for free, right? So she went like at least a couple times a week and saw all the new movies. It was quite amazing. I was a little bit jealous, but that's all right. Brandon prefers to watch the OLED TV at home and hang out there. I mean, it can be nicer because you can make as much popcorn and other snacks as you want and kick back and be in your pajamas with no shoes. But sometimes the movie theater experience can be fun, especially if you go with a group of friends. I remember when we went and, we'd go in big groups of friends and go see something like, like when we went and saw Snakes on a Plane in a theater together. I mean, I know it's ridiculous, but we knew it was gonna be a ridiculous movie, and we all went together, and it was so much more fun to go see something like that in the theater than to watch it at home,
Yeah,
so
nothing will ever beat like the midnight premieres of like Harry Potter, lines around the movie theater. That was like peak movie theater experience, and they just don't really do it like that anymore.
yeah. Yeah, Brandon, at the theaters I've been to, they still make the popcorn fresh, and, they still pop it right there, and there's nothing like it. It's so good when it's popped fresh like that with the palm oil and everything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they pop it right there and then scoop it up for you, and, it's that's the thing. It's like the fresh popcorn and the soda from a machine. It's all bubbly. I mean, I guess maybe sometimes that can be a nice treat, even though it's, you're spending half your mortgage to go to a movie now. And Sam says, I miss the dollar theaters back in the 90s. Yes. Oh my goodness. That was so much fun. We had a couple of theaters that had been converted to that, and you could go see, you know, movies that had been out of the theater for a little while, but it was a cheap date. So that was always a lot of fun to, if you didn't want to see it right away, you'd go a few months later and see as many movies as you wanted. Rob.
My theater now is doing like a mystery movie. You get a cheaper ticket. I don't know what it is, but you don't know what movie you're going to. So you buy the ticket and then it's a surprise.
Did you get a
Oh,
chance to actually know what collection of movies they're picking, or was it completely random?
It's just whatever's in the theater. You just get, yeah, random.
do you know what's in the theater before you
Yeah.
go? Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Becky with her Dr. Pepper. The product
I
placement every week.
I know, maybe I should tape it and then make one for us. Rob says that, Coke Freestyle machines are drink printers. Brandon likes those machines, thinks they're amazing. They are pretty cool that you can have so many drinks, but I hate waiting on people
Mm.
while they do their what's great about the old school machines is you could have, like, I used to go to AM/PM in California, and you'd have, like, 20 different drinks lined up, but you could go get your drink while someone else is getting theirs. At the freestyle machines, you're waiting while someone's choosing what they want, and, unless they have multiple machines, you're stuck waiting for someone else. So that's the part I hate about it, is because it's like, "Okay, come on." Especially when it's my kids, because 'cause I'm like, "Dude, come on. People are waiting behind you. You need to choose what you're gonna drink and get out of the way, because it's rude to make people wait so long." But then Rob's saying, the flavor have you seen inside one? The flavor syrups are literally in cartridges like inkjets. So,
I don't need to see that.
I think it would be cool. I guess it is kinda like a printer. Oh, and, hey, Ken, says pellet ice makes the difference. You're right. I wish more
That is
theaters
true.
had pellet ice, because, that's my favorite. I still say that one of these days I'm gonna have one of those little pellet ice machines, because that's my favorite ice. All right, good. Thank you, Keith, for let me know that was for other attendees. What is pellet ice? James, what is pellet ice?
We're about to change your life.
All right, so I'm trying to remember, James, where do you live? Like, what area? Are you in the States or outside? Okay, South Florida. All right, so you need to go to a Sonic and get a
Or
drink.
Zaxby's.
Yeah, or a Zaxby's, or
Brett. Yeah,
what's the
Sergey,
place
Joranna,
like?
we don't need you anymore. We're only talking pellet ice.
It's the little tiny chewable ice that, yes, Sonic ice, or Zaxby's, or there's a few other places that you can get it, but it's that wonderful small ice that you can chomp on, that, is the perfect size for everything. Yes. Sometimes we call it pellet ice. I think there's Some people just call it Sonic ice, you know? It's but yeah, it's good stuff. Uh, Smithfield's has it here too. Smithfield's, chicken. It's like a barbecue place. Oh, Keith, that's it. We're gonna eject you.
And that's how
Well,
you get kicked out of IT hour.
yes, that's right. I don't want to be negative, but it waters my drink down, is what he said. So yeah, that's it. We're not gonna feature your question later, Keith, because you're gonna be negative. All right, now that we've wasted enough time talking about pellet ice, we're gonna talk about we're gonna move on to our agenda, which as you know, if you've been here before, we talk about community and meetups, and then a little bit about product releases if we have any news, and then we will jump into the main topic because well, not we, Joranna and Sergey are going to talk about the about Android, and they've got some great stuff to present to us today. I'm really looking forward to it. So, community. There are a couple of scripts you want to definitely take a look at, a report on systems and associated groups, and setting up SSO for AWS IAM or Identity Center. So, thank you all for putting those in. And a couple of blog posts as well, creating a disaster avoidance plan, and that dovetails nicely into the topics we've had recently on the IT Hour. And Charles, I saw you on there earlier. Hi, Charles. Wrote a PowerShell for the Mac admin, part four in a series. So check out the other parts of the series as well. Blue Canary in the outlet by the light switch. I love the creative titles you've been doing in that series, Charles. So if you are interested in PowerShell for Mac, go check those out. The iced tea hour, Rob. Ugh, you're so punny today. Well, pretty much every Friday. So, with that, Alexa, I think it is your turn to
Right.
talk about meetups.
Yes. Well, even though Keith has poor opinions on ice, I will still talk about his meetup. So next week, final reminder, there is the first Twin Cities Mac Admins meetup that is next Wednesday, the 26th at Bad Weather Brewing. So if you are in the Twin Cities area, make sure you check it out. We're really excited to be a part of that and get that started with them. We may or may not have sent some fun swag. So yeah, definitely if you're in the area, make sure you go. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Keith will be there. And yeah, that is again next Wednesday, the 26th. And the link to register will be in the show notes. And then the only other thing is I teased this last week as well, but we have an upcoming Raleigh meetup. We are targeting the week of May 15th for that. So if you're in the Raleigh area or will be that week, be on the lookout for that event. We'll publish that on our Meetup network. But we will also, of course, talk about it on the IT Hour. So Becky leads that group up, and they always have a lot of fun. We'll choose super fun place. So yeah, more to come on that. But that is it from me today. Short and sweet.
I'm open to ideas. So Charles and others that are in Raleigh, let me know. But I'm thinking maybe the Umstead or something like that. That might be kind of fun. It's a pretty. They've got a bar that has a nice place, and we can handle, 10 people or so. They will. I mean, if we get there at the right time, we can do more than that. But they will. I think they'll let us reserve for at least 10 people. But it's a nice place, and I I may or may not have a connection to the chef there, so I might be able to get us some food, some nice food and stuff. So we'll be. I'm thinking about it. There's lots of places. There's so many. I mean, we haven't even tapped into all the great places that
Raleigh does have great places.
we can go. And we haven't even touched Durham yet. I mean, we keep going into Raleigh, but Durham has a bunch of great food places as well. So we'll switch it up at some point. But yeah, so many.
Also, shout out to Kelly because she said Portland had another meetup last night. Yeah, Kelly, I think you are verging on being pretty regular now. So we need to talk. I know we always say that, but Jump Cloud would love to be involved with that.
Ooh, that's great. Yeah, we're happy to I mean, if you want some extra food and things like that, we will be happy to help. And let's see, next is our product info. And let's see, we have a webinar coming up with our partner, Personio. I am putting that link in the button below us. Just a reminder that that is next week. I think that's Tuesday. The time is listed in BST. So just a heads up on that if you're looking at it. But yeah, we would love to, if you're interested in HR and IT integrations, go check that out. You might get some good information there. And the other thing that we have going on is remote assist. The join with consent prompt has been in EA for a while, and it is going into GA next week. And of course, what we know you all are really waiting for is silent assist. It is in EA right now. So if you want to be a part of that early access program, Joranna would like us to remind you that you can email remoteassist@jumpcloud.com and be a part of that early access program. There's still time to join. You can come off mute if you want to say more about that.
Oh, yeah. So the EA is in progress, of course. Thanks, Becky, for the call out. If you guys are interested, just email remoteassist@jumpcloud.com. Don't forget to include your name, your company name, email, and your org ID. That will enable us to enable the feature for you to test up. So once we have good feedback and everything, then of course it will very quickly progress to GA. So we need as many testers, as many feedback as possible to make sure that it's a viable product for you guys to use. And again, a shameless plug, it's going to be free for everybody. There's no added cost for silent assist. So I would encourage everybody to try, and eventually, if you want to move off what you are using that you've been paying for, you can definitely do so. So back to you, Becky.
Yeah, Jacob has a quick question. Next week, we are getting the ability to launch remote as admin from the JC Admin console.
I think, Jacob, you're talking about the consent prompt where, I guess the users still have to say yes to the admin to be able to access. So yes, you will get that. Silent assist is where the admin can actually, control your machine without your user being present. So that's another capability that a lot of people have been asking before they would jump on the wagon with us.
Great. Thank you. And then James, you said you have feedback. So you are welcome to give us feedback on remote assist if you have been in any of the, if you've been using it or if you've been in any of the access programs. I think you can just go ahead and email that same email address, remoteassist@jumpcloud.com, and go ahead and give us your feedback if you have already been experimenting.
Yes, James. So email to that alias, and I'm on that alias too, and I'll look out for your name, and then we will answer any question or clarify any question that you have there.
Yeah, he was also saying launching as admin is coming next week also, meaning we can interact with the UAC prompts on Windows.
The UAC prompt on Windows should be already out. So yes, but I will get back to you on that. But I believe that's already SGA.
Great. Awesome. All right. Keep them coming if you have more questions, and we will jump back to those. But I am going to hand it over to y'all to talk about Android. Very excited. It's all yours.
Excellent. Okay, let me maybe share my screen here a sec, and then we'll get kicked off. Let me know if you can see it and it's coming through very clearly. How about this? Maybe a little bit better?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Sergey Belous. I'm the principal product manager. I oversee mobility. One of the focus areas for JumpCloud has been Android, and I'm really excited to share some level of information on where we stand with this, what's our general roadmap, and excited to speak with the community, answer some questions, and proceed from there. So a couple of just disclaimers to throw out. Some of this information is proprietary and confidential to JumpCloud. There may be variances in the release. Or the timeline, so just want to make sure you're aware of this overall disclaimer there. At a high level, you may have seen this slide if you've joined our previous either IT hours or roadmaps presentations. This has been sort of our objective to drive our devices platform to make sure that we're able to offer management across all critical platforms. The challenge that I personally took on was the fact that we, for the longest time, would show this particular slide, but our Android management offering would be quite lacking or actually non-existent. So from that perspective, we really wanted to go through and assess what's the best approach and deliver that to our customers. So for those of you that may not be fully familiar with what Android management or enterprise mobility management offers, Google defines a number of sort of feature sets. The first one being work profile, the second one being a fully managed, and the third one being a subset of fully managed, which is called dedicated or sometimes referenced as single use. When we looked at all these feature sets, interacting with Google, you have to sort of pick one particular one that you will deliver on first, and you'll get evaluated and certified by Google that you've met all their minimum requirements. And speaking with our community as well as understanding the requests that we've received, we decided to tackle work profile as the first one that offers a level of management for both BYOD devices, or those personal devices that you want to enable for your end users, as well as the company-owned devices. It offers a containerized experience, and that's where we essentially built our initial foundation on. But I want to articulate that we are anticipating to deliver fully managed and dedicated in a fast follow fashion. So if there are particular use cases that you have that fall into this, second or third category, don't fret. We will be offering that in not so distant future. So if I had to summarize what our current Android EMM MVP or EA contains, it's one. You'll be able to manage your Android devices, those personal and company-owned devices, via the work profile. You will be able to enforce device level as well as the container or the work profile passcode permissions. So not just some level, not just some specifics, but a highly complex level of configurations there. As an administrator, you'll be able to lock that device. You'll be able to issue an appropriate wipe should that device be lost, stolen, or just needs to unenroll, as well as you'll be able to reset the passcode if one of your users happen to forget it. With Android, we'll be able to actually drive some level of rudimentary device compliance. You'll be able to define policies and in addition to that, push compliance policies to enforce should they not necessarily have set or conform to the password requirements. You can define a block behavior or a wipe behavior if they're delinquent and do not come into compliance. And finally, to highlight one of those items is with Android, we're going to actually have probably one of the more robust application management relative to all the other OS platforms that we support in JumpCloud. So you'll be able to search, you're going to be able to organize and distribute both public and private applications, as well as you'll be able to upload web apps or web clips and deploy those to your respective devices. From that perspective, I want to double click on just make sure we have a complete understanding of what work profile is. So for those that may be familiar with user enrollment on iOS, that's typically the sort of personal interaction that Apple devices typically leverage. Android took a little bit of a different approach where user enrollment sort of has that obscured, and you have a managed Apple ID that you redeem those applications. Google took the approach of having a truly visual separation where you will have a personal side, which contains your typical applications, your text messages, your apps, as well as when you enroll, it inflates a work profile, which contains solely the work applications, the work data, and there's, in the BYO case, there is no cross communication. On the COPE or the corporate owned personally enabled side, there isn't typically cross communication, but an admin does have the ability to set some level of device-wide settings like a device level passcode or some additional configurations there. So that's what we will have as part of our MVP, with fully managed and dedicated following shortly thereafter. We initially wanted to deliver just a subset of the policies that the API offers. However, as we got into it and speaking to our customers, there's a great appetite for certain configurations. So we're actually going to be going out the door with about 10 or so policies. As I mentioned, the passcode configurations, you'll be able to issue those IT level commands. We'll have application, device, account level restrictions, some level of hardware. With networking, we'll have Wi-Fi configuration and some level of restrictions around Bluetooth and VPN. And finally, we'll have some location services. One of the things that we also decided to take an approach on, we built a custom payload policy. So in a situation where we may not out the door offer a particular configuration, you as the IT admin will be able to grab that JSON, get that validated, put it into the policy, and to deploy it. That will help with some of the EA and GA testing, but also as there may be a scenario where Android 14 comes about in beta, which there's a particular API that gets dropped out, and we don't necessarily have it in the UI just yet. You as the IT admin will be able to grab that configuration and push it and do the necessary testing for your specific use cases. I already mentioned about the app management, but just to highlight, we'll be actually embedding the managed Google Play. So the overall Google experience will be quite seamless to you. From that perspective, you'll be able to find all those public applications. You'll be able to upload your private APKs. They will be distributed and hosted via Google, so you'll be able to leverage Google's CDN infrastructure to rapidly deploy those applications. And for web apps, are often referenced as web clips, you'll be able to create those icons, URLs, and push them out to your desired users. All in all, I wanted to touch base on a little bit of a demo here. So a quick walkthrough there. So really, if you're familiar with the overall MDM experience on Google, or excuse me, on Apple, we have added an additional tab under Google. It will be configured as Google. Registration is quite simple. You need an email address, then you input some information, for example, your company name. You can input the data protection officer or other information afterwards. That registration is complete. It's quite snappy there. You get to, similar to iOS and Apple, enable user enrollment through the user portal, as well as you can trigger enrollments. It'll fall under that security section. You'll be able to have a selection of either personal or company owned. We'll generate that QR code of those instructions. And one thing to call out here, since we're using the latest Google APIs and leveraging Android management APIs, we will not have our own sort of DPC. We will use Google's Android device policy application. In most cases, it actually comes pre-installed on your device. You open it up, you scan that QR code. If you can't scan it, you can input the actual enrollment token and proceed with that configuration. In this case, as the device is checking, making sure it's all up to date, starting to apply the policies, I'm going ahead and pre-staging some of those applications with our app management. Because it's a completely new paradigm with a new platform, we're actually using a fresh UI. So you'll see a full page UI there, and we're trying to focus on you as our customers with very simple, easy to use iconography and buttons, almost sort of straightforward pill selections, so that if and only if you need to make modifications, we made predefined configurations, and you can easily deploy those as necessary and make the modifications. But as you can tell, there's plenty of application management to be done, as well as the policies that I alluded to will have about 10 or so configurations there. So I'm excited to have this in the hands of our customers. We have launched EA, so feel free to go through that process. And as you get about, anticipate a ton of feedback from you guys, what you like, what you don't like, what you'd love to see enhancements, and then we'll go from there. So all in all, the last call out that I'd like to make from that perspective is if you are not yet part of our EA program for Android, feel free to email android@jumpcloud.com. Please provide your org ID, and if you're an MTP, provide the PID as well as your org ID, your name, your email, and your name, and we'll go from there. You'll get an email, a welcoming email from myself once your environment has been enabled, and we then highly anticipate your feedback there. Just a couple of points. We've had a press release in terms of our mobility, where we're continuing to double down on Android and iOS. In the same press release, you may have seen some notices about our mobile admin portal, as well as other enhancements. We have a Android EMM overview that talks through that configuration. We have an EA guide that's been posted in the KB portion, as well as steps to configure EMM, as well as all the permutations of those policies and app management there. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I really appreciate the opportunity to present this. Wanted to see if there's any specific questions, comments to myself. I may have missed a few that were coming through so far.
Yeah, there actually were a couple from Brandon. What direct advantages will JumpCloud MDM have over Google Workspace native MDM?
Yeah, so Google Workspace leverages typically the same level of APIs. The aspect there is one consolidation of one unified platform, as well as ease of deployment for what I typically call as JumpCloud specific use cases. When it comes to conditional access policies, when it comes to a more cohesive experience of deploying JumpCloud Protect, Password Manager, offering device compliance across your entire fleet, whether that be Android or iOS or the larger scope of desktops, we'll continue to have that offering. I think from a Google Workspace perspective, there are some notions of where Google has either slowed down some of their development and is leaning in a little bit into the broader community to leverage those APIs. And we're definitely conforming to their recommendations and embracing that which they provide for us.
Awesome. And the other one was, will we have any Android policies that will allow for device trust for SSO apps?
Very good question. So out the gate, in our EA or MVP, we won't necessarily have the device trust, but that is definitely in the works. That's highly dependent on us having certificate management in place. So we are working towards that. We understand that the notion of conditional access for mobility, as well as across all of JumpCloud, is critical to our customers. So we're tracking that and looking forward to having an update for you guys in the future.
Great. I think that was it. The question Keith had earlier about how many Android devices do you have in your environment? I did ask that in the chat, and we had a variety of answers. Some said none. Keith said he had 25, and Kelly said low double-digit number and at a client. So she'd love to get them all in one place. So we've got a variety of different number of Android management there. So it's good to hear that we've got some people on that are going to be, I guess, using this. So
Yeah. So a couple of things to articulate that. Typically, if you have a little bit of a sort of a dispersed type of Android device platform out there, whether it's personally owned or maybe some company purchased devices, that work profile tends to sort of land fairly efficiently without having to reset that full device. As the companies consider investing further in Android devices, that's where we'll have the fully managed and dedicated. We'll also be integrating zero touch enrollment. So when you purchase those devices in bulk, you'll be able to onboard them into either a cope configuration, a fully managed or dedicated set.
Ooh, zero touch.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think people have been wanting to see that for a while, so that's exciting. And
And also just to add more good news, this will not be an additional new SKU. So if you are already on a device management SKU and platform plus packages, it will be totally free for you guys. So again, feel free to leverage not only iOS but Android right now on the Jump Cloud platform.
oh, even better. Now, I bet that's music to people's ears. Free if you already
Yeah.
have it. Yay. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that demo. And I like the pre-recorded demo. We're trying not to tempt the demo gods today. I guess after last week and the
I
we
had
tempted enough.
I had a recording as well as I intended. I have a separate tab pulled up just in case someone was eager to see something specific. So I'm not going to tempt them unless someone in the audience definitely really, really wants to see something.
Yeah, and if it happens again, Becky, or Alexa, what happened last week, you can always, jump onto the ice tea hour, right, and talk about more ice and ice sculpture. So now you know.
Yep. Talk more about pellet ice. That's always we always get on food topics of some sort. I don't know. I guess it's because it's we're always on right around lunchtime on the East Coast. So food and drink always on our mind.
It's top of mind for us.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna go get something to eat right after this. It is time for the news. Do I dare try to tell my story again?
I was gonna say, I think you owe us. You left us on a big old cliffhanger last week.
I did, didn't I? So for those who weren't here last week, I was talking about an event I was at last week where we were talking about digital legacy because we had a speaker who did at the IT professionals group I'm part of locally. We had a speaker who does digital forensics, and he was talking about what happens when something happens to someone and their family is left dealing with their digital assets. And so at first we were talking about, what do you do as a company if someone is unexpectedly gone from work? You know, laptops and phones, and if you if they had it set up in a way where you don't have, the passwords and you're not able to get into it, like, what do you do? Do you have a business continuity plan to help deal with that, right? But the speaker also talked about families and how they would access your information and your devices, your personal devices, if something happens to you. Um, so when we were talking about digital assets, where I left off was Alexa, you had said about digital assets like social media and stuff, right? But there's more to it than that. It's not just your social media accounts, but it could be any accounts that you have that your family might need access to. It could be stock accounts. It could be bank accounts. It could be if you've got any cryptocurrency or anything like that, like anything online. If you're not using a password manager that you have given access to your family and they don't have your passcode for your phone, it can be really difficult for them to get into what they need to. And so if they don't have a way to reset your passwords and get in, uh, they can be locked out of a lot of stuff and it can be really difficult. And he gave us some examples of things that he had helped with getting into, like practically having to jailbreak a phone for a family so they could get access to accounts because someone passed away unexpectedly. And the discussion was really interesting. We talk about security all the time, and he was encouraging people for their personal devices, like if you're not involved in security, like maybe sharing your phone passcode with your family or not putting heavy security on it so that they can get in and get to your keychain and be able to get to information. And I was sitting there going, "Ah." It made me really anxious for a security person to be saying that. But I understood what he was saying, because for most people who are not in IT and not involved in security things, like your parents, they probably don't need heavy duty security stuff on their phone. But they should be. Um, they should still be protecting their information and their assets, because they probably have their bank account information and things like that. And someone, if they stole their phone, they could get access to that. So there has to be a balance between securing your information and figuring out a way that if someone needed access to your stuff, if something happens to you, like if you won the lottery and ran away, I think that's a more pleasant view of what may happen if you disappear than the scenarios we were talking about. But figuring out a way to balance, how is my family going to get access to all of my information if they need it, if something happens to me, and that includes things like pictures, voice recordings, things that they're going to want to have of yours. Um, I know we hate to talk about things like this. I mean, it's not always pleasant, but from a business perspective, you actually do need to think about what's your business continuity plan if someone does leave suddenly and they have company assets that are not on the cloud. Like, we do a lot of stuff that we use, cloud-based things. So a lot of our documents are shared. But if someone has a bunch of stuff on their laptop, and we have had people leave who stored most of their stuff on the laptop, how do you deal with that? How do you get access to it and get those assets and get them back to the company? So if you haven't planned for that, it's a good reminder that you should think about that, and think about that for your family and your personal assets as well. It never hurts to make just some sort of small plan as well. And Brandon, you're right. My jaw did drop a little bit, and I was kind of nudging one of my friends when that was going on, because I got what he was saying, and he's a wonderful guy, and I don't have any problems with what he was trying to say, and he was talking to a bunch of IT people too, so we were all kind of like, he didn't he didn't have to use any extra explanations as to what he was talking about. But yeah, it was a really interesting talk, because we normally don't talk about, you know, end of life sort of things, because it makes people uncomfortable. Ah, Keith, my passcode is kept in the frame of my self-portrait. Well, there you go. Is your portrait in the attic? Do you keep a self-portrait in the attic somewhere hidden away? Are we getting into Dorian Gray territory here, Keith? Is there something you want to tell us?
Yeah, what's your address, Keith? So we can refresh your address.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Well, we already know what city he lives in. We just need to get a little more specific. And Kelly says she did support for a password manager for a while, and a user told her that he had created a sheet with his password manager password and other info. Then he split it down the middle, and half lived with his lawyer and half with his wife. Analog 2FA. Huh. Well, that is interesting. Yeah, Apple has legacy contact. I think they were saying something about um, you could go in and designate. I think in Google, you can designate someone else as a backup for your account. If you lose access to your recovery, you can add another person as a backup for your recovery if you need to. And Keith says, on a serious note, we had a company owner have a heart attack, and that triggered some thinking internally to make sure data could be accessed if the unfortunate situation happens to any employee. Yeah, we have had something similar happen recently, which made us start talking a little bit more about this as well. Everybody jumping in to cover, but it does make you think about, like how do you know what people are working on, and how do you know what what how to jump in and cover for someone when they are out unexpectedly. I know that a lot of times people call it hit by a bus, and it's kind of like you don't want to. Uh, but I sometimes refer to it as win the lottery. If someone just was like, I just won the lottery, bye y'all. And they're just like, I'm gone. I don't really care what y'all do with everything. I'm gone and I'm not helping anymore. So it's a little bit like see ya, giving you a rude gesture and going on, but at least nothing bad happened to that person, even if you're like, well, thanks a lot for leaving us in the lurch, but at least it's a happy ending. Rob, you rats. I hate to tell you this, Rob. If something happened, they're probably not going to order cheese. They're probably just going to use you as their meal. So, you know, you weren't expecting that, Alexa, were you?
No, I certainly wasn't.
I mean, it's like, you hear about people's cats. I think the rats would do the same thing. It's just they would have, more time. And Joe shared the Gmail inactive account manager. Thank you for sharing that. And Brett, you're right. For some elderly parents, there's no common sense. They're overwhelmed by most anything security related and can't believe that anyone would want to get to their info. I mean, we see it when people fall to email scams or phone call scams where they call and say, "Oh, your relative is stranded somewhere overseas and they need money," and they get so upset they don't think it through and they send money. So it's just really about education. You have to try and help them out as much as you can to understand that there are people trying to get things from them. Kelly says she's gotten better at those conversations. I like how you capitalized those conversations because your parents used to travel regularly for a month or more, and mom would call me and tell me where all of her important documents were in case something happened. Do that once, twice a year for a while, and it gets less weird. Not easier, but less weird. Yeah, my parents have had a few conversations about that too, and I think I know where things are mostly located. Also, if you use one password, Joe says for families, make sure you add your spouse as an organizer. That's a good point because then they would have access. And if you don't have a spouse, then a trusted friend or sibling who can have access to things like that. Keith says lottery bus. Uh, hmm. I'm thinking that's interesting. Charles' father has a red binder, and every time we're home, he reminds us where it is. Yeah, there you go. Rule 1 of the lottery, don't tell anyone you won the lottery. Rule 2, quit. Rule 3, hire on as a consultant. And apparently Rob stole Brandon's plan. So let's see. All right. Is that like the cash cab? Oh, remember you also need that person to come over and delete your browser history. Uh, so the funny thing was, one of the things that the consultant said during his talk was, trust me, if something happens suddenly and you're gone, no one cares about your browser history. They're too busy trying to gain access to everything and take care of whatever is going on, and nobody cares. At least not in the situations he's been involved in. So I don't know, unless you have like really nosy family, maybe they care. But anyway, oh, the FBI cares. Well, I mean, I guess he was on some of those. He did have the FBI involved in some of those, but they said that wasn't their main thing. It was more about, yeah. Mike says they already have the info. All right. I am going to jump to the news, but I did actually have a
Becky,
poll. Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I'm just going to start up a poll really quickly because it relates to the news.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, while you do that, I know that was a little bit of a heavier conversation, but to lighten things up, I did want to share some good news. NC Tech, in partnership with Business North Carolina, has recognized Becky. She has received the Next Tech Award, which is amazing. It celebrates North Carolina's rising tech stars and honors individuals who are critical and exceptional performers helping to grow their state's tech and tech enabled companies. So shout out to Becky. We're super proud of her. We already know she's a star, but really, really amazing.
Aw, thank you. I wasn't expecting you to do that. But yeah, they're going to have a thing in June to celebrate that. So they made an announcement yesterday, and then there'll be an award ceremony and things in June. So we've got some time to, yes, I am blushing, Mike. But yeah, it was exciting to hear about that. My manager nominated me, and yeah, it's pretty cool to be involved with that locally. And they're a big tech org, and they're statewide, and it's fun to be a part of that group. And with that, I'm seeing people responding to the poll on whether or not they use Reddit. And the reason I'm asking you to respond to whether or not you use Reddit, because I found an interesting news article about Reddit is going to start charging AI models learning from their archives. So if you're a business training a large language model, AI, LLM AI, and wanted to learn from the U420 Naruto conspiracy subreddit, you'll soon have to pay for that. Steve Huffman, the founder and CEO of Reddit, told the New York Times recently that they plan to charge companies accessing its API for the purpose of pulling 18 years worth of content generated mostly by humans. And details on the new terms are available in a subsequent announcement post on Reddit. The API would still be free to developers working on bots and other Reddit tools, and to researchers working on academic or non-commercial products. But simply mainlining Reddit's conversations for AI training purposes will come with a price. The exact amounts, which should arrive in the coming weeks. So crawling Reddit, generating value, and not returning any of that value to our users is something we have a problem with. It's a good time for us to tighten things up. I find it, that's a quote from Huffman. I find that interesting, that not returning any of that value to our users, because I wonder, are they going to charge and then return any of that to the users, or is that just going to go back to Reddit? So content is a strong word for Reddit. And Rob, considering Reddit, just exactly what language are they trying to teach the AI? I don't know. Reddit is a funny place. I don't want to disparage them because I do hang out there a lot, and we have a subreddit there. But I mean, I tend to hang out at places like r/aw, and the cat trap is working, and illegally small cats, and let's see, cats are liquid. I think you're sensing a theme here. It's like feel good, lots of cats. Uh, Brandon wants a payout program for my valuable content he's provided. Um, and Rob's on r/rats, obviously. And Kelly, my shock face, let me show you it. Exactly. Um, and they should hire you as the AI training rat consultant, Rob. There you go. Oh, Keith said, missed part of the beginning of, we talked about Zercurity. Any estimated timeline on bringing these features to Jump Cloud Admin? I do not have any timeline on Zercurity at this point, Keith. We just announced the acquisition, but when we have more information, we will definitely announce it and let you know. So thank you for asking that question. We will see if we can host something. It'll probably be a few months before we can host anything on the IT hour, but when there's something available, we will be happy to do that. And I like Rob's idea of teaching his little rats to run cable for him. When you figure out that, then, let us know. Q2 roadmap webinar. I'm sure there will be. I just don't have any timeline on when,
I
Brandon.
can share those details, Becky.
Oh, do you have that?
Yes.
Cool.
Let's see, where is, okay. So yes, there are going to be two, May 23rd and May 24th. May 23rd is focused on direct, and May 24th is going to be the MSP partner roadmap.
Excellent.
We don't have the links for that quite yet to register, but as soon as we do, we will share those out.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having that handy. So next headline, I wanted to know, have any of you gotten rid of any routers recently, or maybe when was the last time you got rid of a router? Because this was an interesting headline about used routers. You know that you're supposed to wipe a smartphone or a laptop when you resell it or give it to your cousin. There's a lot of valuable personal data on there that should stay in your control. Businesses and other institutions take the same approach. They delete their information from PCs, servers, network equipment, so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. At the RSA Security Conference in San Francisco next week, though, researchers from the security firm ESET will present findings showing that more than half of secondhand enterprise routers they bought for testing had been left completely intact by their previous owners, and the devices were brimming with network information, credentials, and confidential data about the institutions they had belonged to. They bought 18 used routers in different models made by 3 mainstream vendors, Cisco, Fortinet, and Juniper. Of those, 9 were just as their owners had left them and fully accessible, while only 5 had been properly wiped. 2 were encrypted, 1 was dead, and 1 was a mirror copy of another device. All 9 of the unprotected devices contained credentials for the organization's VPN, credentials for other secure network communication service, or hashed root administrator passwords, and all of them included enough identifying data to determine who the previous owner or operator of the router had been. 8 of the 9 unprotected devices included router-to-router authentication keys and information about how the router connected to specific applications used by the previous owner. 4 devices exposed credentials for connecting to the networks of other orgs, like trusted partners, collaborators, or other third parties. 3 contained information about how an entity could connect as a third party to the previous owner's network, and 2 directly contained customer data. Ouch. So that's something to think about. That just only save data wipe, throw it in a wood chipper. Yeah, good point. Charles, I used to take out hard drives and just take a sledgehammer to them because it was fun. Why not, right?
Excellent stress relief.
Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but one time I helped some friends take down some stucco, and it was surprising how stress relieving that was. A big old sledgehammer and a wall and just go to town. So let's see. What do we have here? James has 4 old Dell gigabit switches I can't get rid of. If anyone wants them, they're yours. I hope you wiped them, James, before you give those away. Kelly decommissioned a router, but haven't got rid of it yet. I have an old router too that's just sitting upstairs that I haven't reconfigured or done anything with yet too. So it's safe for now because I haven't given it to anyone. And we have some pretty frugal clients, so when we decommission hardware, that usually means target practice. Bullets are an excellent data wiping mechanism. That's yeah, that can be fun too. Although it's getting harder and harder to have like a good, safe place to do that unless you go way out in the country where you can, shoot safely. Please wear eye protection. So there you go. They're talking about backup passwords in the comments there. All right. Another headline while we, oh, nope. Nope. Sorry. We are at time. So I guess I will skip that. But Alexa will put these in the recap. We've got something about Apple has long escaped ransomware, but that may be changing because they're finding that some ransomware places are starting to target Macs. And then about digital copyright with libraries, which I thought was interesting and you may want to read up on. So there's been some controversy with that. So since we are at time, I will just say thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the topic. And any last words, anyone?
A wonderful weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope the weather's beautiful. And oh, I noticed last night on Facebook that it popped up that it has been a year since I did the duck rescue. So
Oh boy.
yeah, and I was thinking about me telling that story on here last year as well. So that was cracking me up. So go back a year ago if you want to see my duck rescue of 10 little duckies in the storm drain. That was a wild time. But with that, enjoy your weekend and we will see you next week. We have a very special thing going next week that actually we can't tell you about until at least Monday because we have a big announcement, partnership announcement on Monday that we can't spoil yet until the press release goes out. But next Friday's IT hour will be related to that. So stay tuned and we will see you then. So thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.